Hi, it's Eric with Island Expats, and I'm continuing my search for the best place to live as part of my Expat Challenge after just completing the Cebu City portion of this trip. I'm now focusing on the island of Bohol, as it's an interesting place with a lot to offer, showcasing the absolute beauty of the Philippines, some incredible beaches, and an area that is much more spread out compared to Manila or Cebu City, so it's just easier to ride a scooter from place to place and get around. So come along with me as I continue to look at various places and properties here in the Philippines with the intent to move here in about a month. My goal is to bring you along with me on this adventure as I go from island to island, city to city, and property to property, searching for the best place for an expat like me to live and possibly for you to consider for the future. Whether you're a local to the Philippines or an expat from another country, I think you'll find something interesting. Well, in this video, I'm going to focus on Bohol and mostly the popular Panglao area, so you can see why it's one of my favorite places that I've visited through all of the Philippines so far. I'll give you a couple ideas of where to stay if you want to come for a visit, and also some longer-term rentals along with the costs that will go, a lot of these places will go month to month, not even require a 6 or 12-month lease. And I'll give you a few of my favorite restaurants that I like here and some of the beaches that I visited that I thought were, pretty unique. Also, I'll take you through this beautiful island with so much to see and do here later on in the video after we get through some of the content. And I'll take you to a lot of the major sites that you really would want to visit and some of those attractions. So, if you want to check out Bohol yourself, you'll know where to go and the best way to spend your time there. The good news is that most of the major things you'd want to see are within 2 hours of Panglao, and it's super easy to get there by scooter or car if you decide to do that, as Bohol is a very easy and drivable island that way. It's not hard to get around at all. The only busy part of the whole island really is Tagbilaran. That's the only major city that they have. I'll also cover the pros and cons of living on Bohol and compare it to our top 10 list of what an expat needs in order to move to a particular area. And I'll do that at the very close of the video. So we'll kind of sign off with the pros and cons and how it matches to our top 10 list of what we need. So first of all, you have a couple options to get to Bohol. So the airport's located at Panglao, and it's not a large airport, it's a small one, but it is an international airport. And then the ferry is next door at the city of Tagbilaran. So this is kind of top of mind for me right now, as I'm actually planning to go back to Bohol in about 30 days or so. So I'm looking at all of these options myself one more time, trying to figure out the best way to get there from Los Angeles. You've got a couple options. So once you're in the Philippines, you can fly from a lot of domestic airports like Manila, Cebu City, Davao, Iloilo, and a few other domestic locations. So once you arrive in the Philippines, that's an option. The other option, something I'm kind of considering, it might be a little bit easier, is if you're flying internationally to either go to Hong Kong, Seoul, Taipei, or Tokyo. You also have the options to change planes in Osaka, Bali, Bangkok, and Ho Chi Minh City there in Vietnam. So there's a couple of choices internationally, and I'm kind of thinking it might be easier. I like to fly Cathay Pacific. If you've got a favorite airline, United flies to Manila, for example, just make sure it's a big enough plane so you're not on a domestic type flight, because that's happened to me on American, which is my preferred airline in the States. But the last time I flew American from LAX to Manila, it was like a smaller, 3 and 3 configuration on the seats. And that's just not the type of plane for 15 hours. Anyway, if you're coming from the U.S., try to keep it to just 2 flights, right? One major international cross to some location, and then your next flight on to Panglao. The other way to get to Panglao, and it's actually very easy, is just to get to Cebu City and then take the ferry. And the ferry goes to Tacloban, and it's about a 2-hour to 2.5-hour crossing. Super easy, not a big deal. The port's not that far from Panglao. You're within 20 minutes or so. Another option is if you happen to be on Dumaguete, you can get there by ferry, which is about 2.5 hours. The same ferry stops at Siquijor on the way. Siquijor is about 45 minutes to an hour from Dumaguete. So your total crossing time from Dumaguete would be 2.5 hours, probably 1.5 hours from Siquijor. So ferry is another reasonable way to do that. And then once you arrive in Panglao and you've picked a place, there's usually some type of resort where you're going to stay. They will usually rent you a scooter right there on the premises. If for some reason you can't get a scooter from your hotel or resort, you can also rent them over at Alana Beach. So there's like an access road to get to the beach off the main, we call circumference road. So there's like a beach access road that, you basically can drive down part of it, but then you got to find a place to park. And it's really not a motor vehicle type road. It's more to walk. And right on the corner, there's a McDonald's next to the Jollibees, and there's lots of motorcycles to be rented right on the corner. So my preference is probably the Hondas, and I usually go for the Clicks. That's been my best experience. You can get it pretty cheaply, maybe $7 to $10 a day. All right. And then I wanted to give you an additional referral about Bohol. I'm not the only one that likes it there. This is a comment from Rike recently from Life Beyond the Sea. We happened to be going back and forth on one of the videos he did. He's like one of the original vloggers for expats in the Philippines. I think he arrived about 13 or 14 years ago and was absolutely one of the very first people to be doing expat-type vlogs on YouTube. Really before anybody else was doing it. Maybe Old Dog Paul was about the same time frame, but I think Rike is probably the pioneer. So because of that, I really respect his experience because he's been there for 13 or 14 years. So I had a couple questions for him, and because he does live on the Bohol area. And this is what he said to me directly back. He said, "My wife and I moved to Bohol originally just for 6 months. But we've enjoyed it so much, we've been here over 2 years now and are very much considering living here long term." So he goes back and forth, to different areas in order to make videos. I know he spent 3 weeks in Iloilo recently. He went over to Bacolod and visited Gio. They've been long-term friends. And so he has a lot of options. He can pick wherever he wants, and he's picking Bohol. So I thought that was credible. The other thing that I wasn't sure about Bohol is I just haven't had experience directly with this is the medical facilities. So I asked Rike about that, and he came back with this. He said, "I've had 2 surgeries at Ace Hospital there in Bohol, and I was very happy with the care." And he says he's very familiar with the hospitals in the Philippines, and he was fine with Ace Hospital. And he actually had a pretty serious thing happen. This was about a year or 2 ago. And Rike was like in a really high level of pain. And he was trying to get better and feel better for about 10 days. Finally, about the 10th day, he got on his scooter or his motorcycle, and he rode himself over to the Ace Hospital. When he got there and they checked him, they told him his appendix had burst and that he needed immediate surgery. When an appendix bursts, it's life-threatening. I mean, that could have been it for him. And this guy, he's got a pretty high pain threshold if he waited 10 days. I think he just thought he was sick, Anyway, that's what happened to him, and he's happy with the outcome with the medical services. So for what it's worth, I thought I'd give you another opinion. All right. Next, I want to give you some hotel recommendations. So when you go over there, you have an idea of where to stay, what the costs are, and pros and cons of kind of where they're located. It's more kind of a choice in my mind, right? But before I do, I want to talk a little bit more about Panglao versus Tagbilaran, the city, versus Alana Beach. So first of all, Alana Beach is a really popular international destination. You have quite a few Koreans and Chinese that like to come there, and a lot of other nationalities around the world. I personally have visited with a lot of different American forces there, from the Air Force to the Army, and actually met a guy in the Air Force who is on the final base along the demarcation line between South Korea and North Korea. And that was a really interesting time. A couple of really good guys I talked to. Anyway, Alana Beach is really popular because it has restaurants and bars and resorts and dive shops right along the beach. It's kind of like the Philippines version of a mix between like Maui. I kind of think of, if you've been to Maui, it's like Kanapali Shores area where you have kind of this beach and then resort after resort after resort. Or something like Waikiki where, pretty close to the beach, you've got restaurants and hotels and everything else. So it's kind of the Philippine version of that, and it's kind of a fun place. There's kids walking around with instruments like a guitar and singing, and it's pretty entertaining. You've got to go at least one time. It also gets pretty busy, and parking can be a real pain. You basically want to get close to the beach and find a place to park. Typically, you can park your scooter up closer to the main street, right? But even though it's kind of crazy there, you've got to experience it at least once. I mean, both during the day and then at night, because it's kind of different between the two. All right. Here's some of the footage of this kind of Alana area, so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. And as you're looking at that footage, I want to compare this to the overall area of Panglao, which is the island that's connected to the main Bohol landmass, or bigger island, by two separate bridges. So there's two bridges that you come across from the Tagbilaran, which is the city area, and that's the only place you're really going to find traffic is Tagbilaran for the most part. Okay? So moving forward, I mentioned that Panglao is its own separate island, and it's joined by two bridges. So you have two options, one closer to the ferry port, and then one on the other side where you're going to head more to the attractions, right? So it connects it from the island itself to the main island of Bohol. Now, most people stay in the Panglao area. There are a few that like the city area of Tagbilaran, but I would say 90% stay on Panglao. And the reason for that is that's where the gorgeous beaches are. There's a lot of resorts to choose from, and it really comes down to price point and then location, because there's pros and cons kind of to both. Okay, speaking of choices, if you're interested in coming to the Philippines and you want to see not just the beauty of this incredible place, but you're also open to maybe meeting someone new. Let's say you're coming over by yourself single. Then I want to recommend to you Christian Filipina. And I would say a few months before your trip, sign up for the Christian Filipina service. And this way you have time to meet someone special online before you arrive. And they have an app that you can use on your phone, or you can also Just do it on the computer and go to christianfilipina.com. And you can message back and forth. There are profiles of the different women on the site. You create a profile, you post your pictures, you say what you're looking for, and you try to find a match. And then once you find somebody, you can do video calls right there through the app. So you have a couple of choices as far as that goes, either the app itself or just, on a computer. And who knows, maybe you'll meet someone special and then you get over there in person and then you can kind of see how the connection is and if there's chemistry. Speaking of that, I want to read a comment from one of our viewers that just came in within like the last 24 hours. And he actually commented about Christian Filipina. So I wanted to read this to you directly from our site, from our YouTube channel. And this is what he said. I met my Filipina on Christian Filipina about a year ago. I've been there twice to explore and to go and see her. I wanted to, connect in person. Never have I ever been treated as well by any other woman in my entire life. I lost my wife to cancer 2 years ago, and meeting this Filipino woman has breathed new life into me, so I plan on retiring in the Philippines with her. Filipinas are so sweet and loving, and just amazing company. So maybe you ought to try Christian Filipina. This viewer sure thought so. See where it leads. You might just meet that someone special. All right, let's get back to our video. So, as far as where to stay in a hotel in the Panglao area, I'm going to tell you a couple of places that I've stayed. I feel like I got lucky, but I was happy with several of these, but they're different based upon the location, and it kind of depends where you want to be. All right, there's 3 places in particular that I've personally had good luck with. The first one is, if you don't mind paying more, right? If you're not on a tight budget, Henens is right on the beach. And it's basically the end of the walkway when you come down the access road and turn left. And it's got gorgeous white sand. It's a beautiful beach. They've got gorgeous pools, great restaurants, but it's pricey. So you might want to try it for a night or two just to be right on the water, on the ocean, because the other resorts are mostly going to be further away. All right, but it's expensive at Henens. A basic deluxe room is going to start at $120 per night, and it's going to depend upon the type of, time of the year, the type of season that you're in. And then they're going to go up from there to $350 plus per night, depending upon the level of the room, because it goes all the way up to suites and villas, right? So it starts maybe at $120. But again, great restaurants. It's got very good buffets. In fact, I think I went to it multiple times to the buffets because you pay just a flat price and then you get all you can eat, and it was great. And you can go to the restaurants even if you don't stay there at the resort, right? The food really is quite good. The mango shakes are good, and the place is worth a visit. I just want to mention that we now have an Island Expats Facebook page. So feel free to check us out as we do our best to post something each day related to the channel. You'll often see pics and short video clips ahead of time that will soon be released in the next video on the YouTube channel, just as part of the content that we're working on for the next episode. We do our best to keep the content in parallel with the channel, but with more detail so it makes sense and it's interesting to follow along. We'll also release each new video from the YouTube channel also on the Facebook page, so you have another way to access the videos. Feel free to drop us a message on Messenger if you'd like to say hello or comment on something. We're always available there. Please be sure to follow us here on our Facebook page. And thanks for supporting our Island Expats channel. Now, if you don't mind being a little further away from the beach, and maybe you want to have it more quiet than being in the craziness of Alana, because there is quite a bit of congestion there and a lot of people making noise along the beach. So if you want to be about 5 kilometers, which is about 3 miles away, there's a place that I really liked that I stayed at this last trip for about a week called Tana Mysterious Garden. And it's just a really cute place. And it's right down the street from some of the local beaches. Some really beautiful beaches that aren't that busy as far as people attending it. And so it's worth checking out. I like the place because you get really large rooms. What do you have there?
I have the 2 hearts, a lovebird. It's not a lovebird, it's a love duck.
Maybe love swans.
Oh yeah, love swans.
They did a nice job though, huh?
Yeah, it's pretty.
That's cute. You like it?
Yes, I like it. And the room is very huge.
Big room, huh?
Yeah, it's very big. Big.
It's super quiet in there. It's got great water pressure to take a hot shower. It's got good air conditioning. And those 2 things may seem like not a big deal, but not all resorts are the same. I've had places where it didn't have hot water for the shower, or it came from cold to hot very quickly. You're running around trying to get wet and get out without getting burnt. So that's really important that you've got water pressure and then warm water. What are you doing?
I'm inside the bathtub. The bathtub is quite big.
It's a lot bigger than you are, Livy.
Yeah.
I think you go swimming in there, Livy.
A swimming pool.
It's a deep tub.
A deep and a huge. It's wide.
Yeah. They don't have other meal service other than breakfast. So if you're looking for a place that's going to have restaurants, that's not going to be Tana's. But if you're looking for a nice pool, there's like a patio or balcony area, large room, really good sized room, and a reasonable price, then you want to check that out. The third place I've stayed before is the Alana Royal Palm Resort and Restaurant. And it's got like a steakhouse that's built into it. It's very close to Alana Beach. It's about a half a mile away from the actual beach itself. And the main thing about the place is that the food is just excellent. They have USDA steak, and they had the best bacon I've had anywhere, even in the States. I actually asked the owner, who's a German, I said, what in the world? Why is your bacon so good? And he said, well, we actually kill the pig and make the bacon ourselves right here on the premises. So really good place as far as the restaurant goes. The rooms are fine, no big deal. They do have safes in there, which I would recommend doing, putting your valuables in there. And then it's only a half a mile walk back to Alana Beach, or take it on your scooter. As far as longer term rentals go in the Panglao area, there's actually a couple of choices that I checked out on my last trip being there. The next place is Portofino Residence, and it's about a 10-minute drive to the Alana Beach area. I actually like the area where it's at. There are basically condos. There's a complex of them, and it's just first story and then one above you. So there's only 2-story. It's got to be about 20 of them total. There's a pool. They were actually redoing the pool area when I was there. And it's right across the street from a really good grocery store and a really big hardware store with tremendous supplies. I mean, power tools and everything else. But the grocery store has everything you need, and it's right there. So that would be one of the places to check out. It's not fancy from an amenity standpoint. Like, it doesn't have a restaurant or a gym. It just has the pool. But it's only 30,000 pesos per month. Now, right now, at the current exchange rate of 56, that's about $535. And so it's a pretty good deal, and it is a very nice area. It also includes Starlink for Wi-Fi, which is really good on the download, which is mostly what you guys are going to worry about. Not so great for me on the upload to make these videos. The second place I found is called Angel's Dream Residence, and it's not far from there. It's probably 3 minutes on the scooter from this location of Portofino. And from Angel's Dream Residence to Alana Beach, it's just 3 kilometers. And it also comes with free Wi-Fi. Both of these places can be booked from just a few nights to a month or 2 or longer at a time. They really both go from month to month, so you're not signed into a 6-month lease. And I'm sure there are plenty of other places to choose from, but this is kind of what I found as far as short-term month-to-month rentals. Now, right down the street from Portofino, in fact, the same street going to the resort, so it's probably 100 yards away, was a new house for sale. I thought it was kind of interesting to show you a new house that was just built there in Panglao. and what the cost would be. Kind of just to give you an idea of prices for new homes there. Panglao overall is pricier on the real estate side of things, as property in that area is highly in demand because it's just really beautiful and you have access to the beaches and all of that. So it is a little pricier there. Now let's talk about restaurants a little bit. I'll focus on the kind of Alana Beach area of Panglao. That's where most of the restaurants are. And there's one in particular that I really liked. It's called the Labing Maayo. Maayo is Visaya for good. So it's the Labing Good Resto. And it's right there in Alana Beach. It's got USDA steaks. It's got Australian steaks if you want a less pricier option. And it had a great chicken sandwich. It's got great sauces for the steak, and it's reasonably priced. So that's one that I've gone back to multiple times. I mentioned the buffets over at Hennon's, but the menu is good too. I had the lasagna right off the main menu, and it's quite good. There are several restaurants there at the Hennon's resort property right there on Alana Beach. And then the other restaurant I'd recommend is at the Alana Royal Palm Resort, which is the place I mentioned earlier as far as staying there. But again, they've got great food, and it's also a steakhouse. So those are the three I would kind of pick. If you want other options, there's Jollibee's, McDonald's, and all kinds of stuff up and down the beach. There's also several good Italian restaurants in the Alana Beach area, kind of the main drag. So there's more choices. And there's Korean barbecue and everything else you can think of. When it comes to malls, though, in Bohol, the main mall is the Islands Mall. And it's not that big of a deal. It's kind of a small, standard type mall, nothing fancy, not on the scale of the malls that you find in Cebu City, like a Seaside or Ayala, or the Mall of Asia and all of that in Manila. So it's okay. It's just more like a local small mall, but that would be one downside compared to Cebu City and BGC, all of those areas. Not the same as far as that goes. Now, there's a lot to see as far as nature goes in Bohol, and Bohol is a pretty good-sized island. I want to just give you a quick overview of some of the main sites so that you kind of know what's around, and then I'll do a more detailed video in the future where I really focus on all of the nature and everything else that there is to see. So here's just kind of a quick first pass. First of all, from Panglao itself, in about a 45-minute drive, you hit the first Tarsier Sanctuary. So that's worth seeing. Then you go on from there to the Lubbock area, and in the Lubbock area is the Lubbock River, and it's known for its river cruise there. And on the river cruise, it has a lunch buffet and kind of a river experience. There's actually some dancers, a big group of people playing instruments, and it's kind of fun. It's only 1,000 pesos per person, which, roughly if you use 50 pesos to the dollar for a quick exchange, it'd be 20 bucks. It's better than that. The exchange is at 56. That probably puts us around $17.50 to $18, all right? But worth going to. Then from there, as you kind of go more to the interior of the island, you're going to come across the Lubbock Ecotourism Adventure Park, and that's worth checking out. After that, and another about 15 minutes or so, you're going to hit the man-made forest in Bolar. And it is gorgeous. It was some guy planted this thing starting in the 1970s, and it's incredible what it looks like. And then soon after the man-made forest is the Bohol Tarsier Conservation Area, and so that's worth checking out. There's also a place that has butterflies and another place that has snakes, if you want to see all that in that same basic area. And then from there, you're going to head into the forest park. I don't even think I can pronounce this. I don't know if I even want to try. That forest park is there, and that's worth checking it out. The next stop from there will be Pilar. And there's a house built by a marine ship captain, and he wanted to have a representation of kind of like a ship that's built in a couple of story house. It's actually fun to tour. There's a couple of different floors and rooms, and they actually give you a captain's hat and a white shirt to put on like you're a captain, and then you go in the kitchen and you go in the bedroom and you talk on the phone and you pretend you're a captain, and they play music and they take your picture. And it's kind of fun to do. Anyway, from there, you're almost to Carmen, which is where the Chocolate Hills is. And there's a neat viewing area that you want to walk up to the top. There's a lot of steps there. You know, one thing to bring with you when you go to the Philippines is a small umbrella, and that will block the sun for you because it can be very strong, especially between 10 and 4, right? And when you're going over to the Chocolate Hills area, if you're going by scooter, etc., you're going to stop just short of the viewing area on the main road that takes you out there. And there's a parking area where there's shuttles, and for a small fee, they shuttle you to the top because you can't drive on your own. All right, so that's how you're going to want to do that. All of these main attractions are within 2 hours or so of Panglao. And they're kind of on a route through the middle of the island in the same general area. It's quite interesting. Most of what you want to see is all within like 30 to 45 minutes of each other once you get away from Panglao about an hour into the interior. So now, if I'm going to compare Panglao to our top 10 list and kind of Bohol in general, I think you can see here that Panglao checks most of the boxes. And that's why it's still one of my favorite spots. I think it's really easy to scoot around and get everywhere, and you really don't have any traffic as long as you stay away from Tagbilaran. And even Tagbilaran, it's not that big of a deal compared to Manila or Cebu City. Well, please let me know in the comment section what you think of Bohol and the Panglao area, and what you think of it as a final destination for expats like me or other locals within the Philippines that maybe want to try something new. Well, that's going to do it today for Bohol. And look forward for my next update after visiting Siargao Island, another one of my favorite places over the years. And that will be the next stop on this trip. Be sure to like and subscribe so others can read your thoughts and your comments, as it should be interesting to kind of follow along in that conversation. If you want to be notified of the next video, just hit the notifications button, and then the next video in this series will come to your YouTube account and let you know it's ready to go. Well, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next update from Siargao. Take care.